Watch fans, today we're going to look at one of the most nicknamed watches. It's an original, but it is one that is not just unique, it is extremely presidential. Stay tuned. So today we're going to talk about a watch that was actually introduced in the 1950s, and it would definitely set the bar. It was that chance that Rolex used during that time to say, hey, we're going to elevate things to the next level. And not only is it going to be elevated to the next level, it's going to be considered to be presidential. Yes, we're looking at the Day-Date. The Day-Date actually being the true name of the watch. It was one that we will forever give that nickname, the presidential, or as in the South, you'll hear a lot of people say the Presidente, just because this watch took over around the world. It was a global phenomenon when it was released. And Rolex actually did it on purpose in their marketing scheme and strategy, by paper, by magazine. It was phenomenal. We're talking about a company that says, you know what? Give our world leaders this watch. Let them be the ones who actually lead in this. And let it be a statement that to have the highest level of success, you have to equate that with Rolex itself. I absolutely love their marketing strategies always. Rolex is going to be one of those brands that is really going to give you that level up when it comes to things. They will spend more time in marketing and research and development than they will for anything else. But it is a company that is definitely geared towards humanity and its endeavors. So it does focus on how things and the outcomes of things will be for every piece that it is made. This piece we all know and we all link to who? President Eisenhower. We all know that famous hand wave, which he was actually not wearing a Rolex president. No, it wasn't. If you look at that bracelet, it is a little bit different. However, he would receive one based on documents from Rolex coming shortly after when that watch was released, around 56 to 57. And it was actually due to the different things that he was doing around America and how they were affecting the world. He had actually moved the economy in his first term, and that was something that was really, really big because the American economy at the time and the world itself, it was the powerhouse. That was going to be a big deal. It would actually be Lyndon Johnson who we would see and know to actually be that president who wore the president bracelet, which is a true Day-Date. Now, they were wearing 36 millimeters, and they actually do. They come in a 36 and also come in a 40. And then you will have the retired Day-Date 2, which was going to be a 41. The 41 to me being one of the best buys because you got a little bit more metal, which we all know is going to be 18 karat solid gold. And you got a little bit thicker casing. For a big guy like myself, I absolutely love it. But today's focus is going to be on two Day-Dates or presidents that I know are really, really up for debate and up for election. So when we look at these two pieces, we're going to say, yes, we know that this is going to be 18 karat white gold. Now, Rolex's white gold never changes. So people say, well, okay, that's becoming more common. Well, when it was actually invented or introduced, it was not something that was very common. Rolex would add in a few additional metals that would maintain the actual color and the presence of the watch itself. If you ever look at a white gold Rolex, it is actually going to be a little bit more gray. And it's just because of the chemicals that are added. Now, is that something that we can tell you it's in the what's in the chemical formula? No, we can't. It is proprietary and absolutely not something that we have access to, but it is something that is known. And these are fun facts that Rolex does actually give to the public, whereas most things you hear are not from Rolex. They are just going to be learned things from the public themselves. When I look at these two watches again, we're talking about 18 karat white gold with an 18 karat white gold bezel. All Datejust are actually going to have a steel or steel and gold. They'll be considered Rolexors, but with this watch, it is going to be a full gold piece. Now, the competition for today is, do we think this piece looks amazing when it is just like this with the fluted bezel, all solid 18 karat white gold? Or do we actually think adding the internally flawless, colorless diamonds really gives it the next edge up? Does it give it that next piece? Does it give it that next level of oomph? Is it something that you can wear every day? We get people who give us calls all the time. Of course, for the ladies, it's one of those things that It's an easy answer. It's just how she's feeling for that day. But then we get guys who call in and say, hey, Ro, is it okay for us to actually wear diamonds on a regular basis? I've retired now. I've achieved certain levels of success. Or maybe you're just an entertainer. You're doing different things in life. We want to know what you think. Which of these two do you feel fits you best? And is it okay for wearing the eternally flawless diamond bezel on a daily basis? When we talk about it being eternally flawless, it is just that. When we speak of being colorless, remember for Rolex, the colorless range is from D to G. So yes, it does extend to another letter because for Rolex, an F and a G, which is true, are so close that you can't really see anything with the naked eye. And even at 10 times the human eye, we don't grade color that way. It's actually graded upside down and on white. So that D to G still gives you perfect color. So it is still going to be the perfect color range. Now, for a lot of people, they do ask to, well, with this watch, what makes it special? We know it has the date on it because that's going to be a common feature. We all love that Cyclops lens, but this actually adds in the day of the week. Yes, this was going to be their chronometer that stood apart and actually set a standard when this was released in the 1950s, and it still does today. Now we have fun features, and these fun features that we have are what we call quick sets. Well, when we say quick set, it means that you don't have to continue to go all the way around to change the date. You don't have to continue to go all the way around to actually control the day wheel as well. So we're going to do a quick how-to and just show you how you should actually set your Rolex Day-Date with a president bracelet. So now that we're talking about the how-to, let's break down the fun facts. Remember that this watch is going to be virtually swim-proof. That is the way that we say it. The reason that we do say it, I love it because one of my colleagues, Mr. Michael Cash, always says, for Rolex, we have to make sure that we're able to register that name. It's got to be something specific to Rolex. So when we say it's virtually swim-proof, that does mean cold water. So remember, no hot tubs, no saunas, no steam rooms, no showers. Those create vapors. That is not just going to be regular water. So we do want to keep it more so when we're talking swimming pools, chlorine, we're talking salt water, fresh water. When you take it off, you can just simply get some mild soap and a soft toothbrush or soft cloth, wash it really well, and then rinse it extremely good. Afterwards, the rinse process is definitely important, but before you do anything, always make sure that the crown is screwed down. If this crown is open, remember, those things can get inside. But as long as the crown is screwed down, no dust, dirt, or water can get inside of the watch itself. So the first thing we're going to do is break the rule, and we're going to actually unscrew the crown itself. You'll feel it pop out on your finger. When that pops out on your finger, just remember this is position 1 at this point. That means it's in winding stage. So what we want to do is we want to turn forward, or we're going to say clockwise. When we turn clockwise, what we're actually doing is we're storing the energy from our hands into the watch itself, okay? After we give it a good 40 to 60 turns, then we can say, yes, this watch actually, the movement has a full power or full energy levels, right? That's going to be vital or important because, yes, in your manuals, you may see where it says 20 turns, but those are full turns and the human hand cannot do it. So yes, if your watch does need a little bit more, yes, make sure that you give it to it. And yes, it does need to happen at least once or twice a month if you're looking to use your watch for accuracy. Remember, we do have cell phones and different technology that we have now that was not around during those times or when these things were invented. So it's not going to be 100% accurate, nor should it be, nor should you depend on it to be, okay? So now that we've got it wound, what we want to do is we're going to take our fingernail, our fingertips, we're going to pull out just a little bit. Now, when we pull out to that first click, that's actually going to be position 2. And what that's going to control is our calendar. So as we turn one way on the calendar, it's actually going to control the day of the week. When we turn the opposite way, it's going to control the date. So do remember, when you have a more modern Rolex and it's a day-date with a president bracelet, you do have the choice of setting both quickly. I'm a firm believer that it's good for you to set your watch the day before when you're using your quick set features and then roll completely around to the current time for that day. That's important because you want to pay attention when that watch actually goes past 12, you want to be able to see whether or not the day changed. So let's move to that feature. We're going to pull all the way out. This is with the crown fully extended. Now it's going to allow us to set the time. Yes, you can go both directions, but when you get closer to the 12, I do want you to remember to pay attention to see and hear if the date changes or not. On this, it did change. When it changes, that tells me that it's midnight. So now I'm not thinking that my watch is a day ahead or a day behind. I know that it's going to be exactly where I set it. And this is one of the reasons why we do say it is great to set it the day before and then manually wind it into the next day so that we know exactly where we are. So I never have to think that it's 3 a.m. and it's actually 3 p.m. So now I'm thinking my watch is off and I'm worried and I'm wanting to fulfill a service request or anything else, when it's really just user error and it can just take literally an additional 30 seconds for us to get right where we want to be. Now, remember, with all the watches, even though technology does continue to advance and not all watches will have this problem anymore, it is still good to remember that there is a safe zone. So when the hands are between 10 and 2, we don't really want to change that date wheel. We don't really want to change the day wheel simply because there are teeth inside of there and they can break. That will require a full service when we're replacing those wheels. Now, again, not all watches have that problem anymore because a lot of the brands do have vertical clutches. It is still just a safe practice to use and one that we feel at Swiss Watch Expo will definitely help you. So after you have everything set, what we want to do then is we're actually going to push and turn at the same time. And we're going to screw that crown back down because we want it to be what? Virtually water resistant or virtually swim proof. Because Rolex is one of the only companies, or is the only company besides Tudor, which is going to be its cooler little brother, that actually has the right to legally say that it is waterproof, and we're saying swim proof. We want to make sure that that crown is screwed down so that it can actually fulfill its promise. One of the secrets that is not really released, but is known to those of us who have been trained by Rolex, with your Rolex, whatever the water resistancy is, or the swim proofness is, remember, Rolex has tested that watch and it has to pass at 10 to 15% more. So when we do hear a lot of times that it is something, there's water and moisture inside of the watch, we do know that it is typically going to be because that crown was left open or it was around hot tub, steam room, sauna, shower. Even leaving it in the bathroom while you shower is definitely not a good idea. But because it's been tested for further than what is listed, typically we know the first thing we're going to do is pressure test it and see if those gaskets and seals hold up, and they typically do. Tell us what you think about these two watches. Would it be for you the fluted bezel, or would it be the diamond bezel? These are all going to be factory, and that's one of the fun things to find here at Swiss Watch Expo, and we want to know how you feel in the comments below.